Welcome to A Space to Speak Your Mind,
a radio programme and a podcast about mental health and wellbeing, made by people with lived experience as part of a wellbeing group run by Cornwall Mind.
We do occasionally cover subjects that some listeners may find distressing.
For more information, help and support, please visit cornwallmind.org.
A Space to Speak Your Mind with Cornwall Mind.
Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Shannon.
And I'm Kim. On the programme, I'll be chatting with Shannon and Lauren about how we cope with the darker evenings on our mental health, and Gaelle will explain about the Danish concept of Hygge.
We'll chat about sound therapy and also find out how playing music helps our well-being from Clare and Karen talking to JJ.
Richard will be talking to Dr. Radha Modgill about the launch of the NHS Healthy Choices Quiz.
Victoria welcomes Dr. Samantha Hieuw in our continuing conversation around ADHD and its effect on our mental health.
And we'll be discovering the link between our gut and our well-being with Alana Mc Farlane from The Gut Stuff.
First, let's hear from Lucy at Cornwall Mind to find out what's happening this month.
Thanks everyone. Well, it's a busy time of year, and this December we're inviting our supporters to slip into your most festive knitwear to support Cornwall Mind with our Christmas jumper day. Look better in a sweater. So we're inviting your workplace, your team, your school, your community organisation to sign up and to join us to raise money for mental health here in Cornwall. By taking part in a Christmas jumper day, you're not only helping to make a real impact on the lives of those experiencing mental health problems, reminding everyone that they're not alone in their struggles, but hopefully you're going to have a great day with your friends and colleagues on Christmas jumper day this December. If you'd like to find out more, check out our website, cornwallmind.org, find the Christmas jumper day information and fill out the form. We'll send you your pack, we'll send you all the information you need to have the best festive day in your organisation or your office this year. While many will celebrate Christmas jumper day on the 11th of December, you can choose a date that works best for you. Encourage everyone to wear their favourite Christmas jumper and make a donation, and every penny raised will go directly to support our wellbeing services here in Cornwall. Thank you so much for supporting our Christmas Jumper Day campaign this December. Look better in your Christmas sweater. Coming soon this January is our annual campaign, Move for Mind. So Move for Mind is a massive milestone in the mental health calendar, and every year thousands of movers join the fight for better mental health by completing 31 minutes of exercise or activity for the 31 days of January. The best part is you can choose any activity you like, or you could even change it up each day. Walk, run, dance, swim or skip, so long as you're moving and having fun, it counts. With 31% of us now experiencing high levels of anxiety, moving more could be a real great start to prioritising your own well-being, whilst raising money to support better mental health care for all here in Cornwall. Once again, check out our website, cornwallmind.org, or follow us on our socials for more information how to take part. That's all for now. Thanks to everyone for all your support this year. Have a wonderful Christmas, and back to you.
Thanks again to Lucy from Cornwall Mind.
A Space to Speak Your Mind with Cornwall Mind.
Hello, welcome. I'm Shannon, and I've got with me
Kim, hi.
Lauren. Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about SAD and what we do to help with it in the winter months. So Kimberly, what do you do in December that is special to you for Christmas?
Well, we do a lot of little things to build up the month towards Christmas Day itself, which I can often find quite stressful. So we'll just plan out little trips to places, like the walks on the beach, because we're so lucky to live near it. Little things like going to a crafting session. So we're doing reef making, which we've made into a bit of a habit on a yearly basis. Little things like that help build up Christmas and make it not so overwhelming, because it can be so overwhelming with all the shops. They've got all the Christmas stuff out, and it can be a little bit intimidating at times, and you're expecting to have like this super amazing Christmas. So it's managing my expectations as well, that it's not going to be necessarily a perfect day, but it will be perfect, if that makes any sense. It will just be my version of perfect rather than absolute perfection, magical Christmas day sort of scenario.
Yeah, I think that's really important, isn't it? Like, Christmas is what everybody makes it to be, isn't it? And I think TV and maybe our childhoods bring that sort of, oh, it needs to be perfect and magical. And especially as adults, we always look back and we're like, oh, look at Christmas, a room full of presents and Father Christmas. And then we're bringing that feeling into adulthood. And then we just get that disappointment, don't we? We're like, oh, It's not as magical anymore. And what's great about being an adult is we can do what we want, can't we? We can put in new things to make it magical.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. Like little things to build up to.
When Christmas is over, how do you feel, Lauren?
I just feel I would like it to continue more throughout the 2 weeks, but the one day it all comes about, it goes quick.
So after Christmas is done, does it make you reflect on how your year's gone, potentially?
Half and half, really. It's nice to reflect on how far you come so far and throughout the year, and what things you've done and what you learnt. And if you've done any mistakes, let's make this new year make progress.
Kimberly, how do you find suddenly going from the light of summer, where we can go to bed at 10 o'clock and it'll still be light, to December where it's 3 o'clock and it's dark?
That's a hard one, because part of me enjoys the darkness because it means that everything is coming to like Christmas and sort of not good parts of the year, but the more exciting parts of the year, I suppose. But the actual effect is it normally causes me to get a little bit more down in general. But how I deal with that is, again, making little steps, little things to do, and doing like my hobbies, trying to connect with family and friends, just keeping that sort of talking going, I think. We're joined by Gaelle, and we're now going to talk about Hygge.
Okay, so I came across Hygge quite a few years back now, about 10 years ago. Hygge is the word for well-being in Danish, and they have made an art of it. So it's basically fluffy blankets, fluffy socks, cake. If you have a pet, a dog or a cat, very good. Cake, very important. Hot drinks, so special teas, hot chocolate, with all the trimmings. But it could be a green tea. It could be something as special as a green tea that you selected from a shop as a treat. And you surround yourself by an environment that is comfortable, where you soften the lights. So you go into small lighting, ambient lighting, rather than the big lights on the ceiling. You maybe put some candles and some essential oil sticks around you. So you basically make your environment a really special one. And I've done this for the last 10 years, and now I'm not dreading the winter. I'm actually quite looking forward to it, because I know that this is a time when I take more time for me. I take some early nights with a good book in bed. I don't feel so guilty about going to bed early. And for some reason, I spend more time on myself. So it feels like a nest that you create for yourself. And as I was trying to find the words to express what Hygge is for other people, if you look around the shops, it's all fluffy blankets and candles and anything really, really cozy. And I think they picked up on the need for that for a lot of people. But for me, December used to be quite lonely. But a couple of years ago, I found a writer's retreat that is free, done by the writer called Beth Kempton. She is the lady that wrote Wabi Sabi and The Way of a Fearless Writer, which is a process of how to write a book and concentrating, getting that flow out of you before you get anyone else to look at it and start criticizing it. And this is why her writing retreat is just so helpful. But I would recommend a lot of her books. But basically, every December, she creates this 3 to 5 days retreat, and it's at night, and it's that special time, and she starts with a meditation and a candle, and it feels very cozy, it feels very, very safe, and it feels like self-care, but it feels beautiful. And the writing and the drawing I have done during that period was just beautiful. And I can remember one night I did a drawing of the flame that goes off from a candle. So I took some photos to just freeze that moment, and then I just drew it as a mindful drawing. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. So now when I'm thinking about Christmas and being on my own, I think, oh, there's a retreat again. And I know she's done it for a few years. So it's become part of my routine. So it's just finding that kind of cozy place. And for me, when I'm a bit down at this time of the year, I go into a store and I buy things for my home. This is my happy place. I don't buy handbags or shoes or makeup, but I buy a fluffy blanket. I buy something that makes me feel at home in my home because it's my safe space. And I nurture that space to make it, I don't know, somewhere where I can create, I can think, I can feel safe, I can experiment with new things, and I can look at new things, new experiences, but on my own terms. And I think that's really, really important. And I think for me, when I have started doing all these things, it shifted how I felt about changing to the season, having less daylight because I'm affected by the SAD. And doing all of these little things means that now I go on to short courses. I read more at that time of the year. I do more things that are based on coziness and just forgive the guilt. It's just like park that and then just be cozy, just be comfortable. And we live in a society where they sell to us a lot that we always have to do something. But actually, this is the perfect time to slow down, do a lot less, and actually doing nothing on occasion is really nice and it's good for you.
So it's a little bit like hibernation, making yourself a little nest of things that you really enjoy and find comfortable.
So you've just mentioned hibernation. So I've got this image of a bear that is going to eat a lot of salmon for months and then put a lot of weight on and then just go into total hibernation. This one is a kind of a conscious hibernation where you still have to go to work, you still have to meet people, you still have to function as a human being. However, you do a lot more self-care and you take a lot more time to kind of slow down and do things that are a lot more private, a lot more on your own terms. But that's really, really important because you find this kind of zone where you recharge the batteries, and by finding that time that is just for you, then when you come out of it, you feel a bit stronger. You feel that you've done things that you hadn't done before, maybe, or you've researched something and you've taken a lot of pleasure into it. So suddenly you have new conversations to have with people. You can change the narrative of conversations with the people that you meet when they would say, oh, how are you? And then, people usually go into, oh, this is what my life is about. And then suddenly you kind of, oh, guess what? I've done this. And if that was really interesting, if that was really exciting, I'm totally into it now. And then suddenly the people just get onto that and the conversation shifts onto something a lot more positive. So even though it feels like you're going into a place where you slow down, you do less and so on, I find that once you've done it once and you get settled with it, what happens as a result is that you get comfortable with it. Every time you do it again, you get even more comfortable with it, but you start seeing some benefits spilling out of that hibernation period, and that helps you for the rest of the year. Because when you start noticing little things that are seasonal, for example, and then you notice more the season that you're in, but from a point of view of noticing its beauty, noticing maybe something really nice about it. And you might not enjoy that time of year, it might not be your favorite season, but somehow your appreciation of it changes slightly. For people that struggle with specific seasons, it makes it more bearable.
Thank you, Gaelle, for talking to us about Hygge.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
It's Shannon, Kim and Barbara here in the Truro studio, and it's now time to cross over to the Falmouth radio group where Clare and Karen are welcoming JJ to the show to talk about music therapy. But first, here's a song from JJ and Clare.
There's music playing but far away from her. children laughing, they're far away from her. 'Cause she doesn't compete with them no more. So she doesn't exist to them no more. People passing, they turn away from her. Streets get crowded and all she does is love. 'Cause she doesn't compete with them no more. So she doesn't exist to them no more. They look the other way, for it's them that have to play. Each one passes with glory and a different story. 'Cause she doesn't compete with them no more. So she doesn't exist to them no more. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. 'Cause she doesn't compete with them no more. So she doesn't exist to them no more.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
Welcome to the show. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name's Jojo.
And can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your music?
I tend to base my life revolving around music and nature and anything that's like therapeutic, health beneficial.
Brilliant. So we just recorded that song. So you play the guitar. How long have you been playing the guitar for?
So like maybe 25 years or something, but like on and off.
Yeah, and the song was a collaboration between the both of you.
That's correct. So just a bit of background knowledge about it. It is about a homeless woman. So I used to live in Manchester and I once saw a homeless woman on the street and it kind of touched me quite a lot, and I decided to write a song about her. So the chorus was, because she doesn't compete with them no more, so she doesn't exist to them no more. So it's about her not being in society and competing with other people, so she was invisible to them.
Yeah, it's a lovely song. It's a really good collaboration between the both of you. You actually met at something to do with Mind as well, didn't you?
We met at an allotment and we found out that we shared similar interests. So, for example, we both learn languages and write poetry. So we noticed we had these common interests.
That's amazing. Nature is therapeutic, isn't it, for a lot of people?
Yeah, that's where we met a few times. We kept meeting on all these different allotment areas.
Yeah, which was fantastic, yeah. So is it right in saying that you have a network of people you surround yourself that also use music as part of a therapy, is that correct?
Yeah, I tend to share similar interests with the people that I spend time with. So whether if it's not music, then it will be definitely something creative.
Yeah, do you need a bit of a creative outlet, is that right?
Yeah, the people that I gel with generally have like a creative streak about them.
Yeah.
One way or another.
So how has music acted as a therapy to you and helped you with your mental health?
First of all, I write lyrics, it's like poetry, so that in itself helps me
express yourself?
Yeah, it has its own expression, form of expression, and then you have the musical side of the expression as well. So it's like a double dose of that. And then singing too is kind of feeding your soul at the same time. So it's almost quite completes the whole creativity. It's like your baby, you've created something.
I find music amazing to help me with my mental health as well, and that's just basically listening to it. So it must be amazing to actually be able to play an instrument and to create something as well. That's a really good skill.
Yeah, and actually anyone can do it, you know. We all have our own vocal cords, so we all actually can sing, you know, with a bit of practice. We can all do that, and even if you start off and you feel like you sound silly, it's really good to continue because it will help you find yourself and find your own voice.
Oh, that sounds brilliant. I'll remind myself of that next time I'm in the shower.
Yeah, so would you advise other people to use music as a therapy to help them with their general well-being?
Definitely, yeah. And considering that we have our own instrument in our own body, then you don't actually have to even do anything. You don't have to like learn the chords or the keys or strings. You just like use it and do it because it's there already. So I think that's really important. And also like there's other things that you can do. There's simple instruments that you can play. There's drumming. We have our hands that we've been given to use. So we can do lots of things with what we have on our bodies as it is.
That's interesting. I've never thought of that before, actually. JJ, can I just ask you, what are your musical influences?
When I was younger, I used to listen to my mother playing guitar and singing. So I suppose initially she was like my biggest musical influence to begin with. And the music that she listened to was very folk music, American type folk singer-songwriter songs, so that's the kind of direction that I took. So yeah, I grew up listening to a lot of things like drum bass and Bob Dylan and like lots of other things too, but have my preferences. But I mean, I also love classical music, and I generally resort back to classical as a way of grounding me. I find that really grounding. That's kind of like the background of it. And my father as well was very musical. Don't get too jealous. It was just kind of more improvisational. It wasn't like professional.
Yeah, so you're going to play for us a song. Can you tell us a little bit about what it's about, its background?
Yeah, so this song I made up at a time in my life when I've always never felt very confident, and this time of my life I felt very worthless, and I would make songs like this. This song is called You Are Fine As You Are. So around that period I was making a lot of songs like that, and they sounded like it could sound a bit sad and depressing, but this one's not too bad. And also I've been on a very long spiritual journey my whole life basically. So it's inspired through all of that, and from a godly point of view, I'd say.
Just as you are.
a space to speak your mind.
Thanks to JJ. I think music is a good way to help relax, but I tend to listen to other people's music, so it's not something I've ever done myself.
Barbara, when do you listen to music? So do you do it to relax, or do you do it when you're feeling really overwhelmed? What sort of time do you listen to music in general? Yeah, to relax. Certainly if I'm having a bad time, I'll put some music on. I like all sorts of music, and I have an MP3 player with a playlist of all my favourite songs on it, which remind me of all different memories, holidays, people, places. I listen to that a lot. I mean, it's like hours long now because I keep adding to it. When I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, worked up, headphones go on, and it has to be headphones for some reason. If you just have it in the room, it doesn't resonate so well. No, I have to have headphones on and lose myself in some nice memories. Oh, that sounds absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about you, Kim? When do you use music?
I use it all the time, really. I suppose that's because I'm stressed all the time. But yeah, I find it relaxing, and it will take me somewhere else out of where I am. I've got quite a few playlists, mostly when I'm needing some sort of relaxation or come down. And I do sing quite a lot, not to anybody else, but I will sing along to myself quite frequently.
There is something about singing, isn't there? Especially when you're having a really horrible day and you're in the car and you're like, I'm just going to sing my heart out to this song. It's quite stress relieving, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely stress relieving.
I believe you've experienced sound therapy. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so a little bit about my background. I studied holistic therapies, and within holistic therapies, we were very lucky to experience sound therapy, and I very luckily experienced it several times since. So it is a therapy based where you've got meditation, sometimes they use aromatherapy, and then you've got sound. So they put you in a really nice, relaxing environment. Sometimes it can be outside. I've only experienced indoors. And a lot of the time you'll have a little blanket, and you might have an eye mask. And then they put you in this room, and then you'll have a lovely lady go through a really nice meditation. So you'll go through your breathing techniques. They'll reconnect you with your body. And then, once you're in a really nice, relaxing state, they'll come around with a number of instruments. I suppose the popular instrument is the little bowl, which makes lovely different sounds, and you've got several different types of them. I really, really loved the one which had a lot of different flutes and drums, but it was just an experience. And I always remember that one because I was in my reflexology group, and this lady had just come in and she was explaining about sound therapy, and I think this is the first one I've ever had as well, and I was a bit like, oh well, that's not gonna work. And she got us all sat down and we were all calm, and then she was going along with this really lovely flute, and I was like, oh, this is lovely. And then all of a sudden a bong in my ear, and like it shook my whole body. I was like, oh God, what is this? But then for some reason I felt amazing. My whole body like shook, and I was like, oh my goodness. And like, I don't know whether it was because I was so relaxed and so chill, and I was in a room full of people that I really resonated with, really connected with, or the teacher was just so lovely. But yeah, it really, really was nice. And then she went around with a number of other instruments, but I do remember being like, oh, actually my body feels like it's re-regulated in a way. That music and that big gong kind of shook my body back into, okay, we've got this kind of mode. And yeah, so since then, I mean, I've had it several other times, and I do always recommend it to people. It's one of my go-to recommends. I know not everybody will like it, but yeah, it's really lovely, and it helps me reconnect to my body.
What about afterwards? I mean, how long did that sort of feeling stay with you?
Oh, so that's a really good question. So sound therapy can be half an hour. It can be as long as the meditation is. How long that feeling stayed with me, I probably felt pretty good for the next 72 hours. But then that's me, obviously. Yeah. Everybody is different. I think it's just the whole experience. I always say with any holistic therapy, if it can help you for the week, then that's absolutely amazing. If it helps you for the day, then that's absolutely great. It's giving your body time to de-stress. It's giving your body that space that it needs. So whether or not that lasts for a day, a week, or however till your next session that you're giving your body a break, it is really good. And I always said that to my clients, like, and even me having, say, reflexology, I'm like, right, okay, I'm okay for a month until I next see you, and I desperately probably have ruined everything that you've just done today.
How does it help people?
Everybody is different. I would probably say sound therapy is good for a number of reasons and a number of people, but not everybody obviously is going to be able to take it. I think you have to be musically in mind for having music to calm you down. I say probably most works for just stress and well-being in general. So say if you're working 50-hour week, or you've got stressful home life, or you're just really stressed in general, and you've not given your body that time to come down from that stress, you've not given your time to relax, then going to do sound therapy or meditation or anything involving sound, giving yourself half an hour of just space to just not do anything, I think that's probably where it helps most.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
This is a space to speak your mind.
Now let's hear from Richard talking to Dr. Radha Modgill about the launch of the NHS Healthy Choices Quiz.
Nearly 19 million middle-aged adults could significantly improve their mood by making just one healthy lifestyle change, as the NHS launches a major national campaign urging people to take control of their well-being. At the heart is the new NHS Healthy Choices Quiz, a simple 5-minute online tool that gives users a personalised score out of 10 and tailored advice on sleep, stress, exercise, eating habits and more. To find out more, I'm joined by Dr. Radha Modgill, who's an NHS GP. So thank you for being here.
Hello, it's lovely to be with you. Thank you.
So why was this initiative created?
So we're trying to kind of think more about shifting from illness or sickness to prevention. So how do we keep ourselves healthy and happy and live kind of lives where we feel good about ourselves every day? And this is just a very small part of it. So the NHS has launched the Healthy Choices Quiz. It's basically free. It takes about 5 minutes and it looks at all the different areas you mentioned. So sleep, mental health, moving, eating, for example. And then it gives you a score, an overall score at the end of taking this quiz, which just gives you a little bit of an idea about how you're doing, how things might be for you. And then it basically matches you to specific resources, to links, to advice and tools that are online, again, free, that will support you to take that kind of first step in those areas to feeling better and being healthier. So it's all about these little steps that we can take. And I think also life is stressful, life is busy. So it's really helpful, I think, sometimes just have a little bit of space, even just 5 minutes, to sit back and say, okay, what's happening for me? How am I doing? What's really going on? And to kind of almost get that awareness around how we are, because with that awareness then comes our ability to take that first step and to take action towards feeling healthier and happier as well.
See, I'm interested in these areas because obviously these are things to do with our well-being and they might seem simple. We talk about sleep. Does it actually offer more practical advice rather than just, this is the amount of time, other kind of ways that we can incorporate each of these elements and simple tips maybe as well?
Absolutely, it does. Yeah. And you picked up a really, really good one actually, because we don't often talk about sleep. Sleep kind of gets ignored or neglected when we're talking about health and well-being, and yet it is so fundamental to how we feel. Our cells repair themselves, our memories are sort of laid down, our emotions are processed. So it really is a fundamental of both our physical and mental health. So yes, there are links to resources with tips, for example, on how you can sleep better, the right quantity of sleep, but also those kind of lifestyle habits and what we call sleep hygiene steps we can take before we go to sleep. Device use, for example, getting out and getting some natural daylight, creating a routine that will help our brain to kind of realise it's about to go to sleep and reset, so we're more likely to get better sleep. So lots and lots of different tips, really practical tips about how to improve, each of these areas if that's what your score is showing at the end of the quiz.
And you're particularly targeting people in their midlife. Why is midlife such a crucial moment for health intervention?
So I think any age is really important, isn't it? Because when we're talking about children, we're talking about obviously developing healthy habits. If we're talking about people in the older age, we're talking about how to sustain their health and well-being and how to build strength and to have, all of those kind of tools available for you. But the research that was carried out for this particular quiz was done by UCL, and they looked at a particular cohort of individuals, so 34 to 65-year-olds, and obviously came up with this statistic that 19 million middle-aged adults could actually boost their mood by making just a simple lifestyle change. So one of their examples was that actually if we just increase physical activity, we can improve our mental well-being in as little as 4 weeks. Middle age is also one of those kind of crucial times, I think, where if we don't kind of sustain and maintain our health and well-being, there's a slightly higher risk of us potentially being at more risk of developing a long-term health condition like type 2 diabetes or heart disease, for example. So it really is important that we try to kind of keep our bodies and minds as healthy as we can, not just for the present moment, but also, as I say, so that we can age in a healthier, happier way, and we can live long and healthy and happy lives as well.
I think the one thing I find is doing some recovery support work. There's a lot of things that I say to people, and I'm sure you can appreciate this as an NHS GP. There's things that maybe we don't always do myself, and I have to think, oh, actually, you know what? I need to get outside. I need to be more active. I need to have that extra 20 minutes of mindfulness. Is there something that you've learned from this, or is there something that you think, oh, do you know what? I need to put this into practice myself?
Absolutely. I mean, I've done the quiz myself. A lot of the links that come from that, like Couch to 5K and Active 10, are really, really helpful, and the Mind Plan as well. I mean, one of the things for me was about kind of trying to sort of slow down and take a bit more time for mindfulness and for my mental health, and also kind of around, what I'm eating. Life is busy, and sometimes you grab food here, there, and you don't really necessarily think about how you've been eating over that last week. So there are some really, really, I think, helpful, practical and tangible bits of advice in the quiz, and also the links and resources that kind of match up with that. But you mentioned before about simple areas of life, and I think that sometimes things have got so complicated and so complex that it's very hard to see the wood for the trees, I think, when it comes to our health and well-being. And I think this quiz is great because it does bring you back to those sort of essential building blocks in those sort of 6 areas of what actually can help us stay well and keep well. And this really is all about taking the first step, having that awareness, thinking about it, thinking about why you might want to make those changes, and then giving you those links and practical resources to actually help you start on that journey.
And I think the other thing is, it's about self-care, isn't it? Because we're doing so much and we're trying to do everything for other people, and we don't realise that actually, having a bit of time to ourselves, and it may seem that's counterproductive because we're spending an hour on ourselves, but actually it's the benefits that we get by having that time.
100%, absolutely. Like you say, life is stressful at the moment. It can feel really overwhelming. And we've got so many people in our lives, haven't we, that we're trying to look after, trying to look out for. So much to do. It's almost, a whole list of life admin tasks. But as you say, that tiny little bit of carving out a bit of space or time to do something for you, for your health and well-being, whether or not that's physical health, mental health. And a lot of these things are actually both combined. As a GP, that really does pay dividends. And it's just about making small little changes so that it's not overwhelming. It's not another overwhelming thing to do. It's something that is actually achievable and that actually will hopefully be able to encourage and support people to build that kind of mental and physical wellness and resilience when things get tough or when things get tougher for them. I think that's also really helpful.
So where can we find out more and also take part in the quiz?
Yeah, so if you just search the Healthy Choices Quiz online, you'll be able to find it there. You can start the quiz, you can get your score, and you can get a plan that's right for you. And so I encourage everyone to go and try it and have a look. It might bring up some things that are a surprise for you. It might bring up things that you kind of already know. But what it will definitely do is give you some links and some signpost you to some resources that will hopefully be really helpful for you to just take that first step in that journey.
And we'll put the link in our podcast as well. So if people listen to the radio show, they can find the link on the podcast. That's Dr. Radha Modgill, who's a NHS GP. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
In our continuing conversation around ADHD and its effect on our mental health, let's welcome Dr. Samantha Hieuw chatting to Victoria.
So, I'm joined by Dr. Samantha Hieuw. Tell us all about ADHD Girls.
Thank you so much for having me. ADHD Girls. Well, I'm Dr. Samantha Hieuw, founder of a social impact company called ADHD Girls that was founded when I was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 40. It has a dual mission to empower neurodivergent women to thrive in the employment, education and life settings, and also elevate neurodiversity understanding through an intersectional lens. We have just created our first neurodivergent Phoenix convention that happened on the 6th of October. And it was amazing because it was the first time that I was able to bring both science and neurosystem regulation together with the stories of ADHD and ADHD in women's life in a community setting. And it felt like a real milestone.
Yeah, it's incredible. What did you feel was like the kind of vibe from that event, and what were the stories coming out?
Yeah, it was amazing because I wanted to create a space that was very much in tune with neurodivergent women because I know that so much of the events that are created are very much catered to the dopamine learning, and Q&A style. So I wanted something that was especially good for, I suppose, a woman like me who's autistic and ADHD, who needed a sensory calming space. So I created a space that was definitely it was very inviting. So when you go in there, it smells nice. We had this lovely incense, Palo Santo sticks burning, and there were low lights, low music, and it was a very calm kind of space with lovely food and drinks. So it felt like you could see each other, and also be part of this collective. So it felt like a very relaxed setting. We kind of spaced the seats apart as well, so people could stretch out if they wanted. I then delivered it's kind of a session where we started with some ground rules for emotional safety, in a community setting where, we talk about things that aren't going to trigger someone else. And so when I started my talk as well, I made it clear that, it is the stories I tell is not, for them to carry emotionally because I've worked through a lot myself. So we had that initial learning session and also co-regulation with more breath work. But towards the second part of the evening, we had singing. And women were saying how they felt like it was like being in a choir. And it's really got some really good mental health benefits as well as singing together, how that encourages expression. I wrote a song that was very much tied to the girl to women story, of us being born into this world and being, I guess, told and socialized to be a certain way. And then find ourselves at a certain age in life feeling very, very suppressed, I suppose. And that causes all sorts of, physical and mental health challenges. So this session was really, really about unleashing that suppression. And I had so many messages from women who said that they slept really well that night. And they also asked for the lyrics of the song and also a video of the song, I think, which I will share. So there was the community circle after that as well, which was really lovely because then women could talk about the things that they were going through, some of the challenges around hormonal treatment in their current life stage. And many of these women are 30s, 40s, and 50s. We're all navigating the triple whammy of being diagnosed later in life and then maybe starting medication and then layering that on with hormonal treatment if it's the time for us to do so. So there was a lot of discussions around what helps, what supports. And yeah, it's definitely an interesting evening where I feel like people were really able to come out of their shell, and be with everyone, which was so lovely.
Why do you think that women are being diagnosed later on?
Well, a lot of that is the gender representation or the underrepresentation in psychiatry, where I won't say it's only limited to gender, that a lot of other traits that people look for with ADHD and autism, they are very much catered to a young white boy's experience. So when you see that actually women present differently, and we know they do because we looked into the neuroscience of autistic women and ADHD women, and then you look at the neuroscience of ADHD women, that is a completely different brain dynamics. And so when you've been compared to a standard that isn't you for all of your life, then no one's going to see you. No one's going to find out that perhaps, you have some challenges that are actually a neurological difference or neurodevelopmental difference. So there's definitely underrepresentation and the gender roles that we play in society. And when we get diagnosed later in life, usually coincides with a difficult life transition, or also when we have changes with our hormones, because many of these women, they can be diagnosed late 30s or 40s when our sex hormones start to decrease. And estrogen is the master regulator of women's brain health. And with decreasing estrogen or fluctuating estrogen throughout the month, we're seeing women no longer have that protective filter, a protective effect of having estrogen. So that leads to ADHD or autistic ADHD women feeling more of the heightened manifestation of either ADHD, ADHD, or even autistic traits.
And congratulations on your new book. Tell us all about that and how that came into being.
Sure. So that is a couple of years work in the making, because when I started speaking at community events 3 years ago, publishers were coming to me, and they really wanted me to publish a book on women with ADHD. And I knew that the book that I want to publish needs to be inclusive to our existential struggles. And I think at the time I was diagnosed with ADHD, but self-identified as autistic. But it was only this year that I finally got my autism diagnosis. So along the way, I gave talks at these community events, and I felt like, what I was doing was, yes, I was introducing this new phenomenon to people, and it kind of it was very resonant to many women, but it also then lifted a lot of the parts of their lives up into the air with no anchor to settle on. And then some women get diagnosed, and a lot of the time when we get diagnosed, we swiftly fall off the cliff. There is no real support for, life after diagnosis, and actually if you're lucky enough to get diagnosis. So then I wrote this book as a way to complete the story and to support people pre or post diagnosis navigating a life with ADHD, ADHD, and there's a bit about autism in there as well. So it's very much tied to my journey of having been diagnosed at the age of 40 and then 8 months later starting ADHD medication, feeling some mysterious side effects. But it was only until, 3 years down the line when I entered a very difficult life transition that everything kind of ground to a halt with my health. And I just remember giving a talk one day in Farringdon, and I stopped breathing. So there was a kind of cocktail of the ADHD medication, but then also I was very stressed, and it was a difficult time. My hormones were fluctuating, nervous system firing like a disco ball. And it was a couple of years in the making to get to that point. So what I'm trying to say is that it wasn't just that one difficult life transition that made that happen. It was just the culmination of everything, having been on meds, not sleeping that much, and then the hormones going a bit haywire. And then finally understanding what it means to be an ADHD, or in my case, an ADHD, where I looked into my health. And it's funny because I never had the motivation to do it until I almost died. And that's when I did the research. I was like, oh, okay. So what was happening to me was I was on a dose of ADHD medication that was potentially too high. And when you add stress to it, cortisol was coursing through my veins. It was too high for my heart to handle. So I kind of then did the research in order to try and save myself. And that's a very big part of this book, actually. I had to remove quite a lot because I went so deep into the science, and my publisher was like, no one's really going to understand this, So I had to kind of reduce and then make it as human as possible. But the story with ADHD is that there are at least 76 gene variants and counting, that predisposes us to what looks like ADHD, but also what causes challenges in nearly all of our major organ systems. And so when I did that research, I was able to understand it was really a matter of balance for us. And especially ADHD is a different ballgame as well, because you're also looking at an additional state, on top of ADHD, which is the autistic side of things. So you have two nervous system states, but then only one nervous system. So you have an opposing collision of different wants and desires and thoughts and behaviors, and one nervous system to cope with this. If you can imagine how that will feel, actually being a contradiction to yourself, going into every situation in your life, then regulation is a constant need for us. And that's basically why after I wrote that book, I knew that the next step of my work needs to also include nervous system regulation and soulful practices, which was then why I created the Neurodivergent Phoenix, which combine both the science and soul for ADHD women.
What's really helped you on your own journey?
There's so many things, and they all help at different timelines. We are given, medication when we first get diagnosed with ADHD. That is the first line of treatment, and then you get therapy. What I found was actually the medication was helpful to a degree, and I'm still on it. I don't want to diss medication because it was helpful to help me level out, perhaps the playing field, as they say, to get my mind to switch on at the age that I'm at. And then hormonal replacement therapy truly helped. And if anything, actually just leveling out my hormones was the best thing I ever did for me, and ensuring that there is not too much fluctuations inside my body. Because ADHD is a mind, body, and relational philosophy and a way of being. So we are constantly interacting as ourselves to our environment. And that can be sensory, that can be relationship, and that can be emotional. So all these things like truly affect us. So other than looking after my health, having a lifestyle that supports me, I also ensured I was able to regulate whenever I was stressed, and also have people around me who I can call, and support system. That is so important.
And you've gone on to train now over 100 FTSE companies, more than 100,000 people. What have you learned through that journey?
Wow. So when I train the companies, they're very much asking me to go in to talk about humanizing neurodiversity, because that's what I do. I give the human lens to neurodivergence, and know for a fact that so many people, are being diagnosed or self-identified, as ADHD, autism, and many other neurodiverse conditions, but find it hard to go back into the workplace to advocate for themselves. So often what we need more than anything else, yes, is awareness to help everyone get, to the same level of understanding, to embrace neurodiversity in the workplace, but also a way for people to advocate for themselves so that they, kind of really look at not just the challenges, but also the strengths that come with, being this way and neurodivergent in the world. So that work is very rewarding, and that helps then, it helps make the community work that I do possible. So when I say I spoke to over 100,000 people to date, it's it's a combination of people in organizations, but also mostly the people that I meet in public when I did this community talks with Seat Talks in the past years. And I am just constantly surprised at how many people come forward each year or each month to find out about ADHD, people who are not already diagnosed. It is such a huge influx of people who are looking for answers and support. And how do we responsibly give this, answers and support to people when so many of us are actually finding our own way? We can talk about science, the latest science, but how does that relate to each person individually? And for me, my fixation has been on how to personalize care for each and every person. And I try to train people, especially mental health professionals who support autistic ADHD women, and to try to train them to adequately identify and support ADHD women. And interestingly, I found that ADHD women were also very interested in my training because they want to find out how to support themselves and their own children, if they could even create a career, out of learning about this knowledge. Because I find we're at a time where so many people want to pivot and do something more, related to their purpose, and they see the purpose as an excavation also to try and find out who they are.
Yeah, you've become an expert in your field and recognised by several awards. Thank you so much for this work. This is great that it's getting out there into the world. And what do you hope, just if there's someone who's sat in your shoes, either undiagnosed or just recently diagnosed, what's the one sort of piece of advice you'd give to them?
I know when I first got diagnosed, it was a lot about radical acceptance. And for people with ADHD, I've sort of distinguished between ADHD and ODHD now. The state of being with ADHD is very much about generating energy and releasing it. But with ODHD, it's very much about when I talk about the two different states in one nervous system, it's very much like about containing and then being able to release it, because we do contain and hold in a lot and have trouble releasing. So it's all about energy. It's about, can you generate energy and can you release that? It's as simple as that. But at the very core of this journey, it's about radical self-acceptance and really owning your own truth, so that we all learn to create relationships where we're honest with each other. What kind of things drain our energy, and how do we have this relationship with other people when we are, different. We are all different. I think it's ultimately about self-compassion as well, and compassion to others.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. If people want to find out more about your work and about your book, where do they go to?
You can go to adhdgirls.co.uk. So it's my social impact company, ADHD Girls. Or you can go to samanthahieuw.com. You can also get a copy of my book, Tip of the ADHD Iceberg, that is out. It's available on Amazon and local bookshops, like mostly Waterstones. And yeah, you might want to call ahead if you want to get it physically. But it's definitely on Amazon.
Super. And just before we close, what else have you got coming up? Any more books? Any more events?
Yeah, so the Phoenix is definitely in the making, because I know that I'm going to reproduce this in the future in different cities. And my most immediate work is coming up, where we will launch the second cohort of the ADHD Women Intersectional and Scientific Program, where people can qualify to become a practitioner afterwards to support other neurodivergent women, as well as those who are already professionals in the mental health diagnostics and support field. You can come and understand what it's like to live as an autistic ADHD woman, so that you can make your practice more identity affirming and also nervous system and neuroscience affirming, as well as the stories of our lives, to enable more people to feel represented in the field of psychiatry and mental health.
That's incredible. Thank you so much. It's been fabulous to speak to you today. Thank you.
Now it's time to discover the link between our gut and our well-being with Alana Mc Farlane from The Gut Stuff, talking to Richard.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
We've all been there, the first date with the person of your dreams, the big job interview that could change everything, or the school exam that makes your insides feel like they're hosting a butterfly convention. The science is known as the gut-brain axis, the physical link between our gut and our mind. Alana Mc Farlane is the co-founder of The Gut Stuff and has been researching this theory for years. So thanks for being here, Alana.
Thank you so much for having me.
So what is the gut-brain axis and how does it create these sensations?
Yeah, so we talk about the gut-brain axis a lot in the gut health world and at The Gut Stuff, but we were quite shocked by the Precision Biotics survey and that only 3% of people are aware of it. And basically, I think, as you said before, we've all had those feelings of butterflies when we see the person we fancy, or that sort of sinking feeling. But actually, I think, so obviously we've been aware that the connection goes down the way. So when you're thinking about that person, you sort of have that reaction in your gut, but actually it's bi-directional. So the signals also go up the way. So looking after our gut health can be an absolutely amazing tool when it comes to stress management.
And this is that thing, isn't it? Because we get ourselves into these situations and we do feel that stomach. And I guess it's one of those things that if we have that experience more and more, the physical sensations kind of almost memorize the situations we've been in.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think I certainly, before I got into gut health, very much saw my brain and my body as two very different things, especially like clinically and when it comes to health. But actually just knowing they're all connected, I think is an absolutely amazing sort of epiphany that I had. And I think it's starting to come into public consciousness now. And I think mental mental health is so multifactorial, so we can't just say, you know, looking after your gut health will be able to cure everything. That's absolutely not the case. But I think just having another tool within our armoury is really exciting for the field of gut health and also mental health.
So what can we do to look after our gut to help with our head and our stress and also with our mental health?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people, when they think of gut health, they think of diet, which of course plays an absolutely huge part, and it's something that we talk a lot about at the Gut Stuff in terms of things like eating more fibre. But actually today I think it would be really good to focus on things that aren't diet related. So there's quite a lot of research going into things like deep breathing, mindfulness and yoga. And I think I was certainly one of those people that was like, breathing, what? I do that every day. But actually now they're starting to use things like deep breathing in clinical practices. So there's more and more evidence now to show that it actually works. Exercise, we all know that it's great for keeping fit, but actually the feel-good chemicals and endorphins that it releases really help to support our brain health. And I think sleep is one of the things that's been talked about a lot, and it is easier said than done in a lot of ways, but sleep really does affect our gut health and vice versa. So starting to look at that is a really good port of call.
It's interesting you're talking about breathing there, because I think about the digestive system and the fact that, you know, if we're in that fight or flight state, we're not letting our body do the things that it needs to do. And breathing is one of the core essentials of getting back into that natural pattern.
That's it. And I think it was quite groundbreaking for me when I realised that the opposite of fight or flight is rest and digest. And I think that was just a concept that had never really occurred to me before. So I think in these times we are constantly in fight or flight mode. If you think we're always on our phones, we're rushing about, we're going at 100 miles an hour, our body just isn't equipped to deal with that chronic stress all day, every day. So I think even something as simple, just box breathing, which is a super simple, free, accessible technique that we can all do anywhere, whether it be on the toilet, in a meeting, if you need to, will just help get your body from that fight or flight into rest and digest.
So what other things can we do to sort of help out with our head and also our stress?
Yeah, I think connection is a big one, and it's something that I really underestimated, to be honest, but it's spending quality time with other people has a really powerful effect in reducing stress. And I think that's also something that we really do overlook. There's been amazing links to have increase in sort of shared microbes, and that's sort of getting a bit super sciencey. But actually, I think these sort of simple things that we have lost over the decades, I think really do help. But when it comes to gut health is complicated and everyone is so different. You know, if Lisa and I are identical twins and don't have the same microbiome, then no one does. So you really have to pick tips and tricks that are going to fit into your life. My sister has a toddler and she's heavily pregnant. Sleep is not top of her agenda right now. So what other things can she tweak? And gut health is all about simple swaps over a long period of time. There's no quick fix. There isn't some magic test that you can get in a lab to tell you what to do. It really is those little nudges that will help you in the right direction.
So tell me more about the gut stuff. What other things have you found out over your research, and what other things can we put in place?
Yeah, I think at the Gut Stuff we are all about tuning in, which I think rarely a lot of us do. I think, you know, as I said before, we all go at 100 miles an hour, and I think we don't tune into our bodies unless we're ill or we're hungover. So I think your biggest indication to where your gut health is at just now is tuning in, how you feel. So what are you eating? What sort of exercise are you doing? How is your energy levels, mood? And actually just tuning into that, I think, is a really good first step to understand you and your body. You know, gone are the days of this one size fits all model diet or lifestyle, you know, is going to work for you. And I think just realising that everyone is different is a really good port of call. And then, of course, educating yourself around the science behind gut health is absolutely fascinating. It's complex, but the fact that your gut and the gut microbiome affects absolutely all areas of health, I think, is so exciting. So yeah, I think reading up on that will help trigger, you know, that knowledge to hopefully change behaviours.
Is there a way we can simply retrain our gut? I mean, we were talking initially about that gut reaction to situations, and obviously breathing is a big thing, and diet. But is it just a case of repeating? Is that the way we do it, or are there other things that we can do?
Yeah, I mean, your gut is a complex ecosystem, but actually it can be changed in a matter of weeks, which I think is really empowering. And I think it sort of fits into that agenda that we all want nowadays of this, I want to be changed yesterday. So I think that is super empowering. And actually it doesn't need really big swings. It's just these simple habits over a long period of time, but you can change it really quickly. You don't need a gut reset or a gut detox or anything like that. It's actually the beauty of gut health is it's about adding stuff in rather than taking it away for general gut health and general well-being. Different if you've got a gut issue, but I think that mindset is quite hard to change and flip, because I think we're all used to, when we think about health, thinking about restriction. So I think that sort of mentality, our gut microbiome is about diversity and variety and lots of different types of these gut bugs. So to create that sort of thriving ecosystem that in turn will help your brain health as well.
And where can we find out more top tips for our gut health?
It's just on the Precision Biotics website.
That's amazing. So that's Alana Mc Farlane, who is co-founder of The Gut Stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's all for today's programme.
If you've missed anything, you can download the podcast right now on Apple, Spotify and Amazon Podcasts.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear the new episode when it comes out, or listen back to any of our previous programmes.
For support and more information for better mental health, visit cornwallmind.org or call the Mind helpline during office hours
on 0300 123 3393.
Or call the NHS Crisis Helpline on 111 and then press 2.
This gives you another way to get urgent help if you're struggling with your mental health.
And you can call the Samaritans anytime for free on 116 123.
If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can get in contact via email, aspacetospeakyourmind@gmail.com.
And you can also find out more about the show if you follow Cornwall Mind on Facebook or Instagram, or on their website, cornwallmind.org.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.